there we go. Okay, so let me close this out because I honestly just wanted to. Okay, so frustrating. I don't know why. Getting better at these things. Going live on these platforms is not easy. It's not a simple process. One does not simply just go live. It's a delicate battle, honestly. Okay. So closing out the point. Essentially, it's really frustrating to see this whole thing play out again and again and again and again. And the real question here is, when are people who consider themselves conservative, people who care about not having a totally communist utopia in America, when are they going to change their strategy? When are they going to realize that this method that they're falling for the bait, falling for the leftist tactics, not being able to control the narrative, when are they going to actually fight back against that? They should be getting on board. They should be understanding these things. Thankfully, we have people like James Lindsay. We have so many books that detail out their strategy, detail out what they're going to do. We have their strategies. We have their conferences. We have everything. But we can't form a cohesive strategy, form a cohesive narrative, and convey that. I'm trying to simply figure out how to confidently stream. You are doing great. Oh, thank you. I appreciate it. Yeah, it's not easy. It's definitely not easy. So I wanted to get back to, I think I think it was John who put it in the chat, that we want to have more honesty. We want to have people being honest and being truthful and things like that. And I think that this is the problem with most conservatives. They always think that perception management, they think controlling the narrative, they think, creating counter propaganda, creating fun meme, like all of these things. They think that they're bad. That's lying to people. That's not genuine. You have to be truthful. All these things. You can be truthful, but you can also appeal to people's emotions. You can create compelling stories. You can make sure to stay focused on the actual crucial topic, not just, go on a tangent about how you feel about this or how you feel about that. And these people are evil and that's why we need to stop. You need to have a clear story, to have a clear messaging that can be appealing to the people listening, because again, people don't understand what's going on. They do not get why it's bad to have diversity and inclusion. Why would that ever be bad? That doesn't make sense. If it's bad, that means you're obviously a bigot, right? Like, you obviously hate people, you're a racist, you're all these things. That's just in the way they phrase it, the way they structure it. It seems pretty clear. But because people don't know how to argue and clarify and expose what they're actually trying to do, we know that diversity and inclusion is controlling speech. It's controlling people. It's ranking people based on their aesthetics and what race they are, where they are in the victim pyramid. That's what it is. It's about creating a caste society based on victimhood. That's what they're actually doing. They're controlling your speech, because if you're going to have inclusion and you're going to have all this diversity, well, you can't have hate speech. You can't have people who don't agree 100% with what you're doing or oppose whatever it is that you might stand for or might represent. So you need to control speech. That's a natural conclusion. We don't articulate that enough. We don't actually articulate that at all. It's just oh, diversity and inclusion is bad. We don't want it. And then from anyone on the outside, it's pretty obvious. Oh, that does sound like bigotry. That does sound pretty evil and bad. So I'm going to go with these people so I can be a good person. Okay. Let me finding out how much to fill up the live. Okay. Yeah, I keep meaning to read The Naked Communist by W. Cleon Skousen. Yeah. These books are very, very important. Reading about these materials, like looking at how they structure things, what they plan things out, and how they organize their agenda. It's written out. It's not that difficult. I'm not sure they will fight back. Hopefully regular, aka working people, will take things seriously. Algorithms keep people out of touch. Very, very true. And it doesn't help that all of the media, all of tech, essentially up until like a year ago. When did Elon buy Twitter? It's like all of it is very leftist. It's going in one direction. That doesn't help at all. It's frightening to see that speech is being policed. No, it definitely is. They're creating envy points like adults. Oh, interesting. Okay. The society as a whole needs to face a major crisis to change. Those of us who get it need to build the new systems for when the time comes. No, I totally agree. The parallel structures need to be put in place, that's for sure. The alternatives, because I mean, their infrastructure is in place, but there's really no alternative. So obviously people are just going to go along to get along. It isn't diversity and inclusion any longer. It's pandering to voters, policies that are literally destroying poor and middle class backwards. No, totally. And actually, I'm glad you brought that up because I just saw a video that I want to react to where this person is anti-plastic and, very left-wing, very green. And they're giving testimony in Congress, and there's people on the other side that are really clearly, explaining that if you're anti-plastic, then the poor people, the marginalized people are going to suffer immensely if you remove plastic from people's lives. Things are going to become incredibly expensive. So it was a really interesting video. I'm gonna post that tonight, actually. Okay, I'm starting to think that diversity and inclusion push is just so they can use it as an excuse to place pawns where they need them. No, 100%. 100%. Because it's not about merit, it's about, do you represent this body? And, everything, this is another thing I want to discuss more in another video, but everything is clearly articulated in the language. The worldview that these people have and what they're pushing on the rest of society is articulated in the language. If you hear what they say, some of their rhetoric, it's like the black and brown bodies. These bodies are suffering. These people, like every single aspect of it articulates the lack of respect for individuality. You're not a person. You're a body. You're a demographic. You're a victim category. Basically, you're not a human being. I mean, that goes with what they're pushing, which is this like authoritarianism. You're not a person. You're not an individual to be recognized or admired or seen as important. You are a body. You represent a quota. You fill a quota. That's it. And that's really detrimental to a functioning, healthy society because the individual is very important. Individual rights are very important, but we all know that that's ultimately in authoritarian societies, individual rights are irrelevant. So why not just change the way you speak? Anti-plastic? Isn't that hate speech against politicians? I know, it's a really funny clip. Actually, let me bring it up right now because it's hilarious to see. They just bulldozed this chick. She was arguing. She was just, I'm for anti-plastic. We need to remove plastics. And just decimated her because it's like, what are you talking about? You're going to remove plastic? Like, no. I mean, we have to have these discussions. It's like we have legitimate problems, but we need to have discussions about removing plastic from society with no alternative. Just take it out. Just remove it. Because again, this isn't about the environment. It's not about improving people's life. It's about creating chaos, destabilizing society so that you have more useful idiots, you have more people dependent on the government, you have more people who are broken and traumatized. All of these things that result from a lack
Thank you,
of
Chairman. Ms. Bradford.
a stable society. Let me actually... Senate they were doing.
Thank you, Chairman. Ms. Bradford, in your testimony, did I understand you right? Said that you want to end all plastic manufacturing?
I said the plastics industry must be stopped.
So does that mean end plastic manufacturing?
I mean, in my dream world, sure, but I think that
In her dream world, in her little commie utopia, authoritarian utopia, we're gonna just get rid of all the plastics. No plastics. Yet I want to do that one for my folks too, taking away from industry for unrealistic utopia. No plastic, yet no solutions. Exactly. Okay, exactly. Nobody talks about personalities anymore. We only have identity. Yep. Yeah, the clip is it's really bad.
go ahead.
No, so I don't mean to be condescending here. I just point out, what's going to replace your glasses?
What's going to replace your glasses? Like basics. What are you going to do? What are you going to do?
You wear your glasses around your face. They're made of plastic.
Maybe.
No,
I don't know what they're made out of.
They are.
I don't know. He asked her a very simple question.
I don't mean to be condescending here. I just point out, what's going to replace your glasses?
So I
do wear your
know.
glasses around your face. They're made of plastic.
Maybe.
No,
I don't know what they're made out
They
of.
are. What,
I don't know.
And I just point.
How are you going to give this testimony in the Senate and you don't know, you're not even aware enough to realize that you're drenched in plastic? That you like, it's insanity.
Because I just want to be realistic when we're having conversations. Because when statements are made like this, I just want to open people's eyes and say, well, okay, that's easy to say, but what's the solution? Your water bottle in front of you.
This one.
Yes. That plastic?
No.
The lid is. That's plastic.
Right. So
Right.
I would say to your
cell phone-
question that I would first be concerned about single-use plastics, and then we can talk about alternatives to this.
Your cell phone there. Is it plastic?
The cases, but it's glass because I broke
Oh, the components
this
inside of it's
screen
not
yesterday.
plastic? The components made out of it's not plastic? Yeah, they are. The water that you filled that water bottle up with, where'd you fill that water bottle up out of?
A water filling station.
All right, and it was delivered by a drink station that was plastic?
I didn't check.
The edges are. The piping coming to it. Now, you have a couple of choices with the piping. We could go back to using wood, but then you have to line it in chemical. Or we could go back and use lead, because we used to have water piping that was lead.
I mean, luckily, we have alternatives to plastic ready and willing. We could go back to lead. We can go back to,
That was harmful to us. We go back to galvanized, but galvanized rust and had discoloration. We go back to copper, but copper has to be mined, and everybody wants to stop mining in the U.S. So you use plastic to deliver piping that you fill.
And this is what's so abhorrent, is that literally these people speak, they shout their rhetoric, they're useful idiots, They have no solutions. They have no alternatives. They have no conceivable strategy. But yet, you need to do it. You're a bigot if you don't. Crush capitalism, crush plastic, get rid of all of it. And they don't produce anything. They don't have anything. They don't have anything of value to contribute to society. There's nothing there. And he's just literally reading down the line of all the things that would suffer and collapse. And she's just like, oh, okay, sure.
That water bottle up with today. I point this out because the clothes you have on, I guarantee you have plastic in it. The shoes you have on your feet, the soles of those shoes are plastic. So we talk about any plastic manufacturing, and everybody in here cheers when you say that, but everybody here is depending on plastic as you set. So if you want to end it, then quit using it. It's kind of like I don't shop at certain places right now because I don't agree with some of their policies. I choose not to do that. You can choose to not use plastic. Do your work. If you believe it, then live it that way. And if not, then tell me what the solution is. Mr. Sunday, can you manufacture a car today without plastic? Because we talked about manufacturing, the chairman brought up manufacturing cars as it is safe, but the components that go into the cars today, can you do that without plastic?
No, Senator, and increasingly so with the new mileage mandates. You increasingly need to use automotive components that are plastics derived.
So we wouldn't have manufacturing, today's modern manufacturing, if we didn't have plastics, correct?
Correct.
Ms. Jackson, do you agree with that statement?
Yes.
So what's the alternative for manufacturing? Because
So here's when she articulates and explains the actual detrimental effects to real people, to real lives, immediately if you follow with these leftist, woke, environmental policies. If you go along with their agendas, people are going to suffer. This has happened all throughout history. Every single time they want to introduce their woke, Marxist, whatever, people suffer. And it's pretty quick. It doesn't take that long. So she's going to articulate exactly what would happen.
the Democrats talk about middle-class wages. Middle-class wages typically come directly from manufacturing. What is it that we're manufacturing that doesn't have plastic in it today?
Nothing. And you know what? It would increase the cost of everything if we turn to an alternative, and it would disproportionately impact low-income people who have lower incomes. It would be another regressive tax on the poor.
So according to your...
Very clearly states,
What is it that we're manufacturing that doesn't have plastic in it today?
Nothing. And you know what? It would increase the cost of everything if we turn to an alternative, and it would disproportionately impact low-income people who have lower incomes. It would be another regressive tax on the poor.
So
and this is why routinely they just have to go with their rhetoric. They just have to go with their propaganda. They have to control the narrative. They have to get people to react so they can push their narrative even further because there's nothing there. It's a failed strategy. There's nothing there. And the chick is sitting there, the woman on the other side is just, oh, I don't know. I mean, I just want to end all the plastics, just get rid of it. And it's just, what are you here to do? I'm sure she's got some master somewhere, from somewhere, I'm sure, but she doesn't have basic common sense, basic logic. And it's dangerous and it's terrifying because they are pushing through policies. They are pushing through their agenda. They are changing the way society is functioning based on this ideology that they haven't thought through. But guess what? At the end of the day, they will benefit. They will benefit from it because there will be more chaos. There will be more destabilization in society. There will be more traumatized kids that they can swoop up. All of these things that will be downstream effects to their ideology, their cult religion.
when the industry comes in the area and when it doesn't. As an auditor, I worked on Nissan North America. Nissan North America moved to Smyrna, Tennessee, where it built the largest automotive manufacturing plants. And the transformation was astonishing. I mean, it went from a community that was poor to a community that U.S. World News
Wow.
voted one of the top 10 places to retire. You had poor people in areas that were poor that became middle class. You had middle class people that became upper middle class, and a lot of upper middle class people that became affluent. They have attractions, they have amenities, they have opportunity to see when an industrial, and that wouldn't happen if you don't have an industrial complex moving into the area where you're talking about high economics. I've also seen the other side where all of a sudden you have deteriorating buildings, empty storefronts, dilapidated housing, people standing on street corner housing, that families that are broken. So we need to balance the fact that people's lives need economic upward mobility. And we can't just say, we're going to take out an industry and leave people poorer than they were. Poverty causes the worst health care in this country. Poverty is the one that destroys lives. It destroys.
But we already know they don't care about people. They say it. They say, oh, we love these people. We care about these people. It's all about these support, love, everything. Oh, we're going to help. It's all about inclusion. But they don't really care. Their policies don't care about people. They don't view them as human beings. They don't view them as individuals. They view them as bodies. They view them as a quota. Just move it through. And it's so plain to see. But because they have this great creativity with linguistics, they have this great rhetoric, they do amazing propaganda, they create amazing storylines, they have graphic artists, they have institutions to keep spouting this rhetoric. It's very difficult for people to see until it is far too late. And yeah, low regard for life, more regard for money and power. Exactly. They'll use whatever means necessary. It's not, none of this is a pro-human or pro-prosperity or pro-life. If you look, they're literally anti-pro-life. Like, literally, they hate the pro-life movement. I mean, how, it's so clear. It's so obvious, yet it just is never articulated properly, and people never get to the point where they can actually have these deep discussions because they react. They get upset. We all depend on China for energy and manufacturing. We move it out of America to help the environment. It doesn't stop the need for cars, so they get built overseas population. Exactly. None of their solutions actually solve anything. They just drive through their ultimate goal, which is destabilization and gaining power. That's it. Because they can't, I mean, they thrive off of the chaos. They can't, again, they're not a creative force. They're not a life-giving force. Like at the core of leftist ideology, they are anti-human. They are anti-life. And you need that to actually create something. They can remix things. They can, put some graphics together. They can put some slogans together. But ultimately, that's just an illusion. That's just some mirage. That's not building an economy. Okay. That's not helping people with, having more stable families. They're not doing that. They're looking to tear all of that infrastructure down. So it's pretty clear. Yeah. No, they want to move it all away. They took the best writers. That's why Hollywood just remake and reboot now. I know. It's so sad to see the limitations. Literally humanitarian that hate life. Oh, sorry. Accelerationism. No, I haven't I haven't heard of that actually. Let me look it up. I have not heard of that term. Oh, accelerationism, the theory. What is it? Okay, acceleration is the belief that special forces, historically economic, should be accelerated to affect societal change. Let me take a look at this. This looks interesting. Okay. Let's see. Let me put it in the chat window. I need to get it so that I can actually screen share easily, but one day at a time. One day at a time. Okay, let's see what this is. Accelerationism, historically tied to Marxism and the belief that accelerating detrimental forces within capitalism will ultimately lead to its destruction. Yeah. Accelerationism of the far right is inherently violent, while white nationalist groups such as the Base believe that the current societal order is inherently corrupt and therefore unsustainable. The Base calls on its following terror attacks. Okay. Oh, so counter extremism. Let's see. Oh, they're saying that white nationalists embrace accelerationism. How fringe philosophy predicted the future. Let's see. Let me see if I can share the screen here so we can actually read the article. Because this looks really interesting. I love any philosophies that are like predictive in what is going to be happening in this society. We're going to have the great leap forward, right? Let me see. How do I get... I don't know why it never lets me. It never lets me actually share a specific screen. Oh, this app is so annoying sometimes. But here's an article that explains half a century ago the great hippie movement. The more nerd sci-fi J.C. Ballard. Okay. Technology, particularly computer technology, and capitalism, particularly the most aggressive global variety, should be massively sped up and intensified, either because this is the best way forward for humanity or because there is no alternative. Favor atomic. Okay. So basically, it's just they want to speed these things up to destabilize society. Is that what? I'm going to look more into it because we need more of this. Hey, what's up? Hey, what's up? How's it going? Yeah, we're just talking about I was actually on another live talking about Glendale and the lovely way the mainstream media was just setting up to push their narrative that everyone who opposes their LGBTQ curriculum in schools is obviously a bigot and a supremacist of some kind and all these things. And it was just really interesting to see how the mainstream media, how like ABC and CBS or whoever was out there, literally set their cameras up. They were all only interviewing the woke people, number one, and they set their cameras up to get the money shot, I would say, to get the shot of people being aggressive and being reactionary. So it was very disturbing to see how easy they play into all of these tactics. Their 4 goals of the woke left are as follows. Yes, let's break it down. Gain as much power as possible. Yeah. They were pretty clear. Destabilize the system. I mean, that's it's obviously happening. And attack capitalism because, I mean, obviously that's racist. Capitalism is racist. And usher in the Marxist utopia. There, bam. Just demolish everything and then you've got your utopia, right? Isn't it there? Quick. It's easy. Not very difficult. Very simple. But somehow each time, bring in the globalist system as a solution. Yeah, definitely. But each time it doesn't play out that way. Each time it just leads to like massive famines and, death and like destruction. Somehow, I don't know. Yeah, shout out to Carolyn. Yeah, her stuff is really amazing. She is the bomb. She's definitely the bomb. I like that though. I like this. I like it though. We have to have more of the breakdown. It's funny how it always works out that way. But yeah, it was pretty traumatizing seeing what happened to those poor parents, just looking to not have their kids learn about certain topics that aren't really probably not age appropriate. But, they got framed negatively. They got pushed in the corner. They have no narrative other than that they're bigots, and that's the end of the story. Yeah. It's sad to see. So we've got the world here, and it's just, when are people going to want to embrace understanding, what they're actually doing, as Brooklyn White pointed out, like understanding people who talk about this, like checking out James Lindsay, checking out Dr. Carolyn B, checking her out, like just understanding their tactics. When are they going to want to do that? I just don't understand why they don't want to do that. I don't understand why that's not an imperative. Why there's this negative connotation to perception management. Why is that? And I think more people need to have that conversation and ask that question of why we can't figure this out. I mean, it's pretty clear what they're going to do. They've been doing the same strategy over and over and over again. They find something to be, it's queer. Oh, here we go. It's queer Marxism, and it is very intentional. Yes, it is very intentional. It's just Marxism with queer people, Marxism with Black people, Marxism with illegal immigrants, Marxism with whatever it is. It doesn't even matter. Feminism, it doesn't matter. They just find something to deliver the poison. They're just, all of these like groups and agendas and identities are just delivery mechanisms for the ideology. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter to them which mechanism they use. It all works as long as it's seen as, something that's down and out, that's not in power, it needs pity, it needs help. As long as it's that, then they can have sympathy. Then they can use this morality, this perceived morality, because they're not bigots. They're all about diversity and inclusion. What could be wrong with that? What could be wrong with that? And they set up these arguments so well that it's really difficult to argue against what they're pushing without sounding like you're anti-diversity. You sounds like you're anti-diversity. You don't want diversity inclusion? Then you must be anti-diversity, which is ridiculous. But again, diversity isn't really diversity. Inclusion isn't really inclusion. It's the ability to have quotas of different, like, identities, different classes of victims, and then also, let's say, with inclusion, controlling speech, making sure there's no hate speech to make people feel less included. Can't do that. So it works out for them, and people just go along with it because it makes sense on the surface. Yeah, I've been binging James Lindsay, honestly. It's been really good. I'm just trying to get it together because there's so much to wrap your head around what it is they're doing, and it's just so just deceptive and dishonest and immoral. And honestly, it's so evil. Just what they do, because none of it is honest. None of it is ultimately going to lead to any of those things that they promise. It's going to lead to destabilization, pain, suffering. That's all it is. The last few generations have failed the test, I'm afraid. No, they have. People haven't really been paying attention. They don't understand what's at stake. And I want to talk about the whole McCarthy era also, because I feel like when they had their push with the communism back in like the 50s, what is it, like the 50s, I think, the era. But with all of that, they really, as I was growing up, whenever I heard about, fight the commies, against the commies, all of this stuff, they always made it seem ridiculous. They always made it seem like laughable. Like, what are you talking about? Like, why? That's so insane. Why are you worried about communists? That's not a problem. That doesn't even exist. It's not real. It's not even real. They made it a silly little thing. So now when you say it, it just sounds ridiculous. Why would you even go against it? Layla, would you be willing to do a live stream Zoom call with a group of us to have a roundtable discussion for your audience and followers? Of course. I was actually going to reach out to you about doing another one, because it's been a couple months now, and I say we go out to Malibu. No, I'm just kidding. It's been a minute, so I think we should definitely revisit the discussion. So yeah, whenever, let me know. Carolyn did a huge thing on McCarthy, actually. DEF, a point of consideration. And also, yeah, I need to actually watch that. I need to definitely watch that because I need to learn more about the whole McCarthy era. I need to learn exactly what went down, because I can understand the storyline and the plot and, the messaging and everything, but I need to actually know in detail what happened. Yes, so insane that you would be afraid of communists. Like, why would you be afraid of them? It's so silly. It's just so silly. What's the big deal? They're just trying to seize the means of production and destabilize society. No big deal. No big deal. Not a problem. So yeah, let me know when you want to do that live. I definitely want to do that because that would be really fun. I think that would be really, really fun to discuss. Are cool, but let's bump up the volume and visibility, give others a collaborative work. No, definitely. I think YouTube is way better. We have a good group over here, and the IG is kind of limited. So, I think something over here would be much better on YouTube to have the discussion. And then maybe we could have a locals after party. Oh, we're taught about how evil Nazis are and are barely taught anything about communism. No, really. It's shocking. It's just seen as some silly little thing. It's not even a big deal, which makes no sense to me. What school board? Let me see. There was actually an article about a school board that was going to oppose teaching about the history of communism and those societies. Because, obviously, there's never been a real communist state. Let's see, which one is it? They said it was they didn't want to talk about it. They didn't want to talk about, the history. Again, it's like they want to teach about history. You shouldn't be afraid of history. You should teach all the history, but let's not teach certain history because that would be in a direct conflict to our agenda. It's like, Oh my gosh. So ridiculous. Oh, here we go. Here we go. So it's sad. It's so sad. It's funny, but it keeps happening. And it just keeps happening. So I don't know what people are doing or when they're going to change. Oh, here it is. Here's the article. Let me pull it up. Virginia Dems claim that teaching about communism is, here we go. I'll read it. Once I get the screen share together, where I can actually screen share my actual browser window properly, it would be a lot easier. But Virginia Dems claim that teaching about the evils of communism will offend Asian Americans. Okay, because Asian people aren't people capable of doing good as well as evil. Like, okay, so they on a bill that would have require schools to teach about the danger of communism and the suffering of its victims after a teachers union claimed such curriculum would incite anti-Asian hate. Oh, okay. The bill, it was HB 1816, requires Virginia's governor to recognize victims of Communism Day. All public elementary and secondary schools in the Commonwealth to honor victims of communism on this day and teach a curriculum about the evils of communism. A bill like this is long overdue because communism is responsible for the death of 100 million people in the 20th century. Okay, that's anti-Asian. You guys, stop. Just stop being such bigots. Like, please slow down. Slow down. It's difficult. Okay, here it is. How do they get away with these narratives? Like, I'm sorry. I just don't get how they're able to get away with it. It's so insanely stupid. So you can't talk about communism because that's anti-Asian, even though it's reality, even though that, let's say, in communist China alone, an estimated 30 million people were starved to death during the Great Chinese Famine between 1958 and 1962. The victims included my baby uncle, this is the person talking, who was born in 1959 and died in my grandmother's arms. Additionally, I lost 2 granduncles, a great auntie and her family of 5, and my maternal great-grandmother. God. Okay, so this person, the person writing this article is Helen Rayleigh. Okay. It's opinion piece. So sad. So disturbing. So disturbing. White guilt. White guilt is a hell of a drug. Seriously. I don't know why they just allow these things to happen. I don't get it. Okay. What is that? Fun fact. Did you know Che Guevara was 100% racist? Like, actually racist, not the racist we hear about. Yeah, I know. Their figureheads are insane. And it's taught to children who do not. No, it's so, yeah. So they don't want to arm children with knowledge about what this whole Marxist utopia that. And honestly, like, a lot of the youth think communism sounds like a good idea. I mean, capitalism is evil and it's responsible for the pain and suffering of so many black and brown and marginalized bodies. Yeah, no, they're not going to teach them about communism. So, Virginia's largest teacher union opposed the bill with an absurd claim that teaching about the dangers of communism and honoring its victims would incite anti-Asian hate, because out of the 5 current communist countries, 4 of them, China, Laos, North Korea, and Vietnam, are in Asia. Since the Democrats are beholden to teachers' unions, it's unsurprising that Virginia Democrats rejected the bill. The article continues and asking, like, do Democrats think all Asians are communists? Like, it's ridiculous. Yeah, no, it's so disheartening. But again, they can push these storylines. They can push these storylines because the other side has no cohesive narrative. They have no pushback. They have nothing. They just are reactionary and just go with it. So, interesting article how they put that together. I should print up a few thousand on communist litter school parking lots. Yeah. No, that's a hate crime. That's a hate crime if you do that. It's so crazy to see. I just don't know how they push these narratives. I don't know how they get away with it. Oh, well, I do know, because people don't put any effort into countering their narratives, because that's wrong. You can't do it. So frustrating. Just like basics. But it's okay. I mean, more and more people are going to be speaking out, going to be recognizing what's happening. Hopefully we can stem this like fire hose of woke policy change in some places and get people to recognize that it's not a good thing to do. And I was surprised there's not a lot circulating around all of these things that really articulate this to people and have for like even homeschooling. There's not a lot of resources. Like, people don't spend time doing this. I mean, honestly, it's one of the most important things. I wish I learned about it when I was younger. I obviously didn't, because that's not relevant. That's not important. But it definitely is right now, because it's going to destabilize our entire society. It seems like they have seized the means of communication a lot so far. Yeah, they have. They definitely have. They've taken hold of that. How? I need to look this up and see how they pushed this and how they worded it, because honestly, how how do you have this one stance at this one point where we have to teach history? It's just history. We have to teach the real history. But on the other side, you can't actually talk about the suffering of 100 million people. That's bigoted, really? Oh my God. But obviously we know why. They don't want to do that, because we need as much communism pushed through as possible in as many different forms. Because capitalism is evil. It's white supremacy. Marx exclusively referred to Black people as hard R's. I know his journal entries are pretty funny. They didn't, surprisingly, they weren't nice, tolerant people. You would think. You would think. Yeah, this is so much bigger than people realize or are willing to realize. I know, and that's a very important point to make, is that the willingness of people to recognize how big this is and how dangerous it is, because they usually don't notice until it's too late, until all the policies are set in place, until everything's just like quartered around them. They usually don't notice. And even then, even when it's like literally in your face, it's very clear, it's very obvious, they're still resistant. They're still like, oh, it's just diversity and inclusion. What's wrong? It's just teaching people about gender. Duh, duh, duh. Like, they're so adamant of staying in denial. They're so adamant about it. Oh no, Gramsci did as well. He didn't like the ethnics. He didn't like the coloreds either. They didn't like those groups, but they definitely used them. I mean, makes sense. I mean, anyone you use to push your agenda that's going to destroy their society and their families and their future, and give them a will to live and persevere. I don't think you like them very much. You're not gonna like them. Facts all day. Thanks. Hey, don't interrupt people speeding along the highway of their own destruction. I know. It's uncomfortable. It's really uncomfortable to recognize. It's really uncomfortable. But I mean, this is where we're at. This is what we have to deal with. So it's like we have to start somewhere. We have to start somewhere in constructing more interesting narratives, like have a dialogue. Don't let them just, at least, at the very, very least, stop being reactionary. That's a good place to start. But no, people don't want to do that. They want to just keep barreling forward down the hill. Let's just keep going. I don't know. We need more education on it. We need more understanding. But yeah, I don't know. I don't know what's going to happen or what the point is, but there needs to be more people. There needs to be more education on this, pointing it out. There needs to be more creatives pushing these things. People who don't all fall into one like line of being a conservative Christian or whatever it is, because all of these things just propel people further away. That's all it is. Sticking to the main point. Again, like from earlier today, when I saw this is the main point. This was the main point for the people in Glendale, the parents. It's the main point. We're here to fight for age-appropriate curriculum. We are not anti-LGBT. But what did the media push? What is it that everyone assumes is what they were doing and who they are and what they stand for? They're obviously anti-LGBT. That's the only thing that matters. We're not going to discuss the curriculum. We're just going to ignore it. But if they could focus in on that and hammer that through, it could actually make progress. The protests could actually move things forward. It's so sad. It's so sad. They like to prey on the fact that normal people avoid politics until the voting booth, meanwhile stigmatizing politics to keep it that way. Yeah, and also the whole black pill thing with people who don't want to participate at all, just which is really bizarre and obviously like some type of psyop or something. Because you see on like the conservative side, the people who are anti-woke, they're all like, oh, it's all rigged. It's all don't participate, do anything. Blah, blah. They're all just this super black pill group in most ways. And then on the Democrat side, on the like leftist Marxist side, all they push is voting. Literally. That's like literally all they push. I was looking at today here and this, or not today, but yesterday, I went and for whatever reason, Twitter decided to give me this like Michelle Obama Juneteenth tweet because I really subscribed to her and I'm just like so interested in what she has to say. And I just saw this and it's like, hey, it's Juneteenth. Oh my God, what is it doing? I hate when it does this. Here we go. It's like, it's Juneteenth. Come out and vote. Really? What does that have to do with Juneteenth? Oh, it's because they want people to vote. Because for them, it matters. They're not all black people. They're really adamant about people getting out to vote. So sad. Oh, mainstream conservative influencers are to blame. Okay. What is that? Unfortunately, humans are very good at living in gradual discomfort. That is a very good one. Yeah. No, conservative influencers are really bad. They're so reactionary. They're just so like, I mean, they're good at, articulating things and giving people the perspective, but they're not really good at forming any like real, really good counter arguments to a lot of this. Anything that's going to actually oppose it. I mean, they're all about, and I think Carolyn, like Dr. Carolyn, talks about this. They're really good at owning the libs and mocking them and making fun of them and further polarizing people. They're never really good at bringing people over and articulating the values of any of these things. Like, why are you even doing this? Like, the whole entire conservative platform, like whatever you want to call it, anti-woke thing, is literally about things you can't do. Oh, you can't do that. You can't do this. You can't do that. How is that going to win anyone over? I don't like Candace Owens, but I saw the video of her titled Juneteenth is Ghetto and Made Up. I laughed. I know. But again, that's further polarizing people. That's like making people feel, oh, they are racist. Oh, they are white supremacists talking heads. Oh, they are, all of these things. It's not really pushing things in a positive direction to win people over. It's just doubling down on this, we're against them. We're against what they do. And I get why it is not really, I mean, we all know why it became a holiday, like, but at the same time, it's not really improving things. It's not really improving the narrative. They traffic in emotion and offer no solutions. Exactly. They do that constantly. It's all clickbait. It's all clickbait. Oh, Carolyn James plus Sloan's biggest haters are conservatives? Really? Really? Yeah, I know for Carolyn. Like, I posted a link to one of her articles and some random troll, like, I don't even know how they found it, but they immediately started posting all this like vitriolic tweets, like responding like, oh, you're into this and that, pedos. And it was insane. I was like, how did you even find my account? Like, this is ridiculous. There's so much. They do the same things as the woke from the other side. Yeah, they're not really teaching people and helping to educate people on what to do, how to say, how to control the narrative, how to have meaningful discussions, how to push solutions. They just want clickbait. They just want people to be upset, angry. Look at how stupid they are. Yeah, those are the haters from the right. I know, it's so ridiculous. Lindsay and Dr. K, because they don't. I didn't know that. I didn't know that they bashed them. I thought, wow. Yeah, that's ridiculous. Again, I mean, people, Carlin. I don't know why it's so hard for me to say her name. It's really, really hard. Carlin. I say Carolyn. Carlin. I'm so bad. Carlin. Yeah, it is Carlin. I don't get it. But anyway, it doesn't make sense to me. And but I see it all the time. People get upset about, oh, you don't want to, you want to say the truth. You want to, be direct with people. You have to do this and that. It's like, okay. Like, people just have to agree with everything instantly. And there's no strategy behind any of the right. There's no strategy. There's no gradual progression of society. They just think, oh, you better agree with us now 100%. And the left can do that because they put in the work. They've been working at this for 100 years. So they can do that. And they can demand allegiance. They have the institutions. They have the media. They can do that. But the right can't really do that. They need to have a conversation, sit down, move people over, start delivering some actual good talking points. Like, how is this going to bring value to me? Oh, okay, I get it. The strategy is to own the libs. Exactly. That's exactly what it is. Yeah, I need to have a name right. I need to have a name right. Yeah, the strategy, I'm gonna put that. The strategy of owning the libs is ridiculous. It's just polarizing people. Yeah, it gets you clicks, but it doesn't actually make those people want to explore nuanced conversations. It's unfortunate. But yeah, maybe one day, I hope to one day be one of those who's rallied against, because I tell people not to just maybe telling everyone to believe in Jesus. That's not really a solution. That's not really a talking point. Not really effective. Not going to work. So they'll probably hate me too, because these people are godless freaks. Like, why would you think that you can just tell them, oh, believe in Jesus, and that's going to win them over? The problem is the right refuses to admit they are losing the culture war. I mean, how, again, the denial. How can you not see that? I mean, it's getting more and more over the top, insane that the left is literally radicalizing people over to the side. So, I mean, the right usually doesn't do it. But yeah. Let's all just move to Bali. I don't know. It has to start somewhere. There has to be more creatives, more artists, more people who just have an interesting narrative, and just at the very least, if people just stopped caring about being called names. Like, who cares? I wish somebody would call me a name. Nobody ever says that to me. Everybody just is like, oh, whatever. Bali is so beautiful. No, Bali is not the solution. Never see a basketball player want to defect to the team who's beating them. Yeah. It's going to be interesting to see what happens, but there has to be something a little bit better than this. This is not, it's not working. It's not the vibe. It's not translating. It's not giving people, what they want. So eventually I think people come together. I think someone needs to translate all of this information, all of this dense information when it comes to like the woke ideology and strategies and all this stuff, translate it to something more consumable, a little bit lighter. I think that could help move it forward a little bit more. But again, there's just so many people who think it has to be like, just tell them to believe in Jesus, or just, oh, say what's right. It's like, okay, you're right. Now, congratulations, you didn't win. I don't think we're losing the culture war, but I do think that we've made unnecessarily complicated, and we do need to focus on the positive more, work a lot more on the message. Yeah. Yeah, I think so too. I think there's so much backlash that it is picking up. There's more and more awareness about it. Sorry for being politically correct, but if you want to be attacked, you need to start claiming that you're a straight white male. Probably. I mean, honestly, if I made a video like talking positively about straight white guys, I think even if that, I feel like people would just be, oh, whatever. I feel like I would be able to get away with that, and still people would not even care. They'd just be like, oh, sure. Of course you do. Or something like that. I don't know. I have to be more strategic. Oh, we have to stop going to war with everything. I know, because it seems very weak. It seems very just like, oh, now we hate them. We're against them. Every single talking point, every single thing is about what you're against, what you don't get to do, what you don't like. Okay. Is there anything positive? Is there anything of value? Do you gain anything from denying this woke ideology? No, I can't name anything. Literally, that's not that's not that's not it. That's not going to work. That's not going to work. We need to be able to articulate the benefits, the value. Did you see the shorts Maria posted? You can even show the views right now. Her short are masculine, about 10% of the views. Our other short did. Same with your short. Yeah, no. When you talk about the whole gender thing, gender battle of the sexes sort of thing, when you talk about that, you get a lot of views. So if you talk about like feminism or women being entitled or any of those things like that, you get a lot of views. The algorithm pushes that really heavy, which is unfortunate because I don't really talk about that. It's like whatever. I don't even care. I don't care about those people. Like they can do what they want. They can figure it out. I'm not dating them. So honestly, I don't care. But yeah, it's oh my gosh. No, you can't say that. John, you can't say that. You can't say that. It's not allowed. But I think it's going to be an interesting thing to see how it ultimately plays out because it's going to continue to evolve. And there's going to be more and more people radicalized over because they're going to keep pushing these things. It's going to keep getting worse. It's going to keep getting more annoying. They're going to keep coming for more and more people because it's such a destructive ideology and such a destructive force. There's nothing for them to do but, start to eat themselves. So more and more people are going to be pushed over. The driving people towards a mindset of negation is also a form of systematic manipulation, subversive control. It's a means of social contouring. Ooh, exactly. We have the Marxist hunter here. You should change your name to that. I love that so much. The Marxist hunter. That's the best. I mean, it's so accurate for you. Such an accurate name. You're literally hunting them down in the streets in Trader Joe's parking lots. So, yeah, it's a crazy lifestyle. But I'm thinking coming up to do the locals on just a roundup of James Lindsay, just a recap of what I learned so far, because it's pretty dense. I mean, we did Carlin. We did Carlin the other day, so I think that's a good point. And then I also have I need to get together some content. It's like when you're on Twitter, it's really obvious to see and it's really apparent. Like reading the news and then Twitter, I think you can really see how they shape these narratives, how they push it in real time. You can see it in real time because you can see the individuals, the like individual talking heads. You can see them, how they're pushing these things, how they shape the narrative, how they respond to things. I mean, it's like, how do they even come up with this? How do they type these things and publish them? It's just insane. Like the way what's that propagandist, that little boy, Harry Sensen or something? Yeah. That one for the Dems, the 20-year-old simp for Biden. Creepy, just a little creepy. And he was talking about what Hunter Biden and the plea deal and talking about how, he was being accountable and he took a plea deal. He was being accountable and all this. And it's a positive thing. No big deal. And then he was like, oh, Biden, he cares about his son. He's trying to teach him. And it's like, what? How do they even come up with these storylines? I mean, if they just keep pushing it, keep saying it, it works because people don't have critical thinking skills. But it's insane to just see. I'm going to do a breakdown of him too. He's so funny. Like his videos are just so bad. It's like, it's embarrassing. It's honestly embarrassing. It's like, how do you simp for like an 80-year-old man and you're 20? That's so weird. It's so weird. I don't get it. Yeah, Twitter's not perfect, but it does give you a peek behind the mask. Yeah, it really does. I think it does. I'm enjoying it. Carolyn plus James info, both dense rich, they complement one another. Yeah, I know exactly. And we need to have more people disseminating the information out that they have, putting it in bite-sized, tangible pieces. Because again, their content is so dense and so enormous. It's like hours and hours and hours and hours and hours. And it's just like, okay. Like we need guides. We literally need people to just teach and just, you know, convey that information. Carlin said recently that she is an historical figure. The Eagles are real. Oh my God. I know. I saw that. That was so funny. Where she's a historical figure. I know dense content is really, really good. But at the same time, when you're introducing people to a topic, it's nice to have like a light primer, like a little sprinkle, something they can just get a little taste of without overwhelming them, because it is disturbing to see. It's a whole entire worldview. It's a way that you're going to like fundamentally change how you view society and reality right now. If you actually acknowledge that things like diversity and inclusion are not really diversity and inclusion, you know, it's doublespeak for controlling speech and categorizing people based on their like putting together a body count, things like that. That is really difficult. That's really difficult for people to come to terms with. So you need like little bite-sized pieces. Yeah, she does distill. No, I definitely know she does distill everything down well. I'm just saying that there needs to be more like influencers, more people talking about it, more people helping to convey the message. That's what I mean. Like what you do. Like you actually do it too. You introduced me to her because I was like not looking or even aware immediately. I actually know how to break it down in the street terms. It's just getting them to listen. Yeah. And that's again finding what are the pain points that they have? How can they relate to the message? But it's all good. It's all important. We need bullet points. We do need bullet points. We need cute little reels. We need like little dance shorts, all that stupid crap. We need all of those things because it's so obvious and it needs to be taught. And there's so many people who will keep facing these things and realize, okay, things are not going well. Because if you notice, like in places like Chicago and New York with the immigrant crisis, the illegal crisis, people are starting to face, this isn't really working out too well. This utopia is not really panning out. There's some consequences to what I voted for. Yeah, you definitely did. Yeah, so that's what I mean. Distilling it, that's what I meant when I said that there needs to be more people, by breaking it down, distilling it out, because it's just like, what's happening? I don't understand. It's a lot. It's very dense. It's an encyclopedia. Equity. Chopping off a tall person's leg so a short person can play basketball. Exactly. That is caring. That is equity. That is inclusion. Like, what is wrong with you? If you don't support that, you're obviously evil. Like, why don't you want people to enjoy themselves? Why don't you want them to be happy? Why do you want to be a bigot? It's ridiculous. Circles and circles, circling the drain. But yeah, so I think this is a good stopping point. I actually want to record some more content before I go to bed. So I think this is a good stopping point for the live. I really appreciate all of you joining and checking this out. I'm gonna put this together. I think I'm gonna take it down and re-upload it together because it should be one piece, honestly. But this is a great conversation. And Miss Brooklyn Way, Miss Marxist Hunter, definitely DM me, text me, whatever, so we can plan our live because we need to get into it. We need to get into it more. So thank you all for joining. I hope you guys have a great night. And I need to figure out what the next topics are for the live. But it has to happen. Okay, I will see you guys soon. Thanks. Good night.